Hey, everybody. Listen, it wouldn't be a Misty Winston guest host spot if I didn't forget to unmute, right? That's how we always start off here. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I am your guest host, Misty Winston. We have a jam-packed show today, genuinely, truly. I don't know how I'm going to get through everything. We're going to do it together. I'm very excited, though, because I do have several really cool people joining me on the show today. So I'm going to bring in our first guest. He's Adam Clark. He's better known as Ruckus. He hosts and produces The Daily Ruckus, a news and opinion podcast on alternate current radio. A self-described jack of all trades, he works by day as the word slinger, a business and marketing consultant and graphic designer, and by night as a critical media analyst and commentator. He's a longtime regular on The Boiler Room and is a frequent guest and occasional co-host on The Sunday Wire with Patrick Henningsen. We love Patrick. Patrick. He's also a regular contributor to Weaponized News with Sam Cheney and serves as the assistant chainsaw juggler at Alternate Current Radio. And he also used to be my news producer when I worked at TNT Radio, and he was my bud. And it's been a long time since we've done anything together, so I'm very excited. Adam, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Missy. You're right. It's been, I think you described it on your social media post earlier, a hot minute is how the kids would say it, right?
Yes.
I was thinking about that, actually. I was like, before I got on air, I was like, boy, it has been quite a while. I'm really bad at the dates, and so I couldn't tell you how many years ago it was, but it feels like forever ago. I can say this for certain. Certainly the world has changed a lot since then, but this space in particular, media, alternative media, whatever this is, has gone through quite a bit of changes since the last time you and I shared airtime. So I'm very excited to be doing this, and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we have a lot to get through. As you said, the world has changed quite a bit, and it seems like there's always a barrage of nonsense happening. So we're going to start off with what I consider to be a little bit of good news that we rarely get around these parts. Lindsey Graham. Wonderful. Lindsey Graham has died, everybody. And I'm sure everybody's already heard about this. I'm sure everybody's already talked about this, seen all of the commentary and all of the tweets and all of the hagiographies and all of that stuff. So I wanted to talk about this from a very specific angle, and that is the constant moral pearl clutching whenever somebody horrible dies, as if we somehow need to pretend that they weren't horrible because they graced us with their death. And I feel like that is nonsense, Adam. And so I want to just to make clear the kind of horrible person that Lindsey Graham was, which I'm sure most, if not all of the people here in this chat watching this show are aware that Lindsey Graham sucked. He was a terrible human being, genuinely. That is just the reality of it. But this is just, we're going to go through just a few of the things. And listen, we could make, this show is 3 hours long, usually longer because I ramble as I'm doing now. But I could make an entire show going through all of the horrible things Lindsey Graham has done and said over the years. So here's one. This is the statement on his death. This is actually one of the good things that he did. So this is just the office of the U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham released the following statement. On the evening of Saturday, July 11th, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham passed away from a brief and sudden illness, which is also a very strange thing. Senator Graham's family appreciates prayers at this time and asks for privacy during this incredibly difficult period. So let's just talk about, Adam, a few of the things that he has done and said over the years. This is when he threw hurricane victims in his very own state to the side to talk about, of course, Israel.
You know, I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I hadn't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. Our friends in Israel are surrounded by people that want to kill them, destroy them, a second Holocaust in the making. And Biden says be proportional. What is the proportional response to people who want to kill you and your family? God. They're running out of ammunition in Israel. We have to help our friends to keep the war over there from coming here. They're willing to...
I mean...
Broken record much there, Senator?
Yeah, and this is right following a hurricane that affected his state severely, and he wants to talk about Israel. I mean, just an incredible lack of self-awareness there, I think.
Very, very interesting clip, by the way. I'm not sure what the context was, something to do with the election night, but it was on 33 days, so that's always fun right there for
the little time.
People track that stuff, right?
Yeah. Interesting, right? So here's another one, and this one is one that I think Jimmy covered here on the show. Actually, I may have covered it when I was guest hosting for Jimmy one of these days. I know I talked about it somewhere. I remember covering it. I don't remember on what show. But this was, and I know I talked about it with Kyle Anslone, who will be joining us later, by the way. But this is where he's talking about how Russians are dying.
Free or die.
Free or die.
Now you are free.
Yes.
And we will be.
And the Russians are dying. It's the best money we've ever spent.
Thank you so much.
No, it's...
Russians are dying, Adam. It's the best money we've ever spent. What a
classic. That's a classic right there. Yeah.
This is classic war hawk Lindsey Graham. Everybody knows that this guy was a raging psychopath. There couldn't be enough war for Lindsey Graham. It was what he loved most in this world, I think. Here's again he's discussing Ukraine, and he's talking about how they'll fight to the last Ukrainian, which I love, by the way, that Lindsey Graham, very comfortable in his mansion in South Carolina, felt that he had any power whatsoever to tell Ukrainians that they must die, like the very last Ukrainian must die for this war.
Like the structural path we're on here.
As long as we help Ukraine with the weapons they need and the economic support, they will fight to the last person.
When is he going to fight? Well, he's not now. He's not going anywhere.
Well, this is a tragic side effect of most of these politicians. None of them, for the most part, have served and or send their family, their sons and daughters to go die for their wars, usually.
No, they're never under any threat for that. And it's vile that they are fine and dandy sending your sons and daughters, my daughters, I'll be damned. I mean, Ukrainians and not even your country's people. Like this is like an entirely different country of people, and you're willing to send them off to sacrifice them on the altar of Western imperialism. It's just disgusting. But that was who Lindsey Graham was. That is exactly who he was. Here he is talking about how he wants to see. Oh, sorry, no. This is him talking about, of course, Israel, one of his other favorite things, war in Israel, his two favorite topics.
Anti-Semitites, all the isolationists. I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. So we have a commander-in-chief in President Trump, who I think is Ronald Reagan plus.
He says that as if it's a good thing. It's hilarious. I mean, but yeah, he's with Israel. He's not with his fellow Americans. He is with Israel until his dying day.
Well, he said our. He said our dying day, whatever that means, right?
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that means. But I mean, he kept his promise, I guess, for his own dying day.
I've always wondered that when you get like those lifetime guarantees with something, it's like, is it the lifetime of the product or the lifetime of you? I've never been clear on that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I've never thought of it that way. Okay, so here he is talking about wanting to oust Putin. However.
Yeah, I hope he'll be taken out.
One
way or the other. I don't care how they take him out. I don't care if we send him to The Hague and try him. I just want him to go. Yes, I'm on record. Please understand, Senator Lindsey Graham, if John McCain were here, he'd be saying the same thing, I think. It's time for him to go. He's a war criminal. I wish somebody had taken Hitler out in the 30s. So yes, that Vladimir Putin is not a legitimate leader. He is a war criminal. He needs to be dealt with by the Russian people. I'm not asking to invade Russia to take him out. I'm not asking to send American ground forces in Ukraine to fight the Russian army. I am asking the Russian people to rise up and end this reign of terror for you and the world at large. That if you follow Putin, you're going to have zero future. I encourage what Zelensky said, that every American company leave Russia right now. Leave today. I encourage the world to strangle the Russian economy. Our war is not with the Russian people. In many ways, they're as much of a victim as Putin as anybody else. The young journalist yesterday who held up the sign, now that takes guts. People like that change history. So how do I think this ends? I think if we stick with it, that if we help the Ukrainians fight for their own freedom, provide them reasonable assistance on the military front to regain control of their skies, help them with food and clothing and economic assistance, and strangle the Russian economy, that there will be forces emerge inside of Russia to end this. So I think the world is better off without Putin.
I can't listen to him anymore. I always find it amusing, Adam, when people, especially politicians from the United States, think that they get to finger wag at literally anyone else for being a war criminal. I don't know where they think they get the moral superiority, but it doesn't exist if you are American. It's crazy.
Maybe their mommies didn't teach them that thing, like when you point a finger at somebody, you got 1, 2, 3 point and back at you or something like that, right?
Yeah, where's the Sophie Cunningham meme that's been going around that I need right now?
Oh, that's right, the pointing lady, right?
Yeah, the WNBA player.
Did you, by the way, he's got this obsession with repeating like these horrible words like strangle. We need to strangle. He uses I'm like, use it once, it's fine. I guess that's normal. As a writer, I can see how you want to use flowery language to keep it fresh and entertaining. But to repeat these types of words just says a lot about your personality. The guy is definitely, or was, in past tense now, a psychopath. So there you go.
Yes. Yeah, there's no question about it. There is no, I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I guess I can't say there's no question about it because I don't really have any business diagnosing people. But in my very amateur opinion, and I am kind of obsessed with psychopathy and in particular serial killers. Like, I'm fascinated by that type of brain, and he really fits the bill. I mean, there's just no question. And I don't think that really there's any, I don't think most people would debate that. And I think that most people who reach that level of power are on a little bit of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, because in order to reach that level of power, you have to be willing to do some really horrendous things. And he definitely fits that bill. There's no question about it. So here is another one.
President Trump is in the process of doing it. They're going to lose and we're going to win. Israel and the United States, you just wait to see what comes in the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks meaning what?
We're going to blow the hell out of these people.
We're going to blow the hell out of these people. That's what he said. Just so casual about it too. That's what I find so fascinating, is just how casually he speaks about blowing people up, taking people out. It's very strange. Again, that's that psychopathy, I think, poking through there.
And normal people don't do that. I don't do that. Do you do that,
No,
Misty?
no,
Okay.
no, quite the opposite, actually. I don't, I can't even imagine having that type of brain. I can't even imagine having that type of brain. I have far too much empathy and overabundance of it, in fact, that I mean, I wish I had maybe a little bit more of that, because it sucks to be overly empathetic. But yeah, he's a raging psychopath. And this is, again, I'm just showing you, like, this is the people that they are asking you now to praise as he was a good person. And you'll see all these politicians out here, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I think Ro Khanna has a post out, and all of these so-called progressive politicians who are like, yeah, we disagreed, but he was, he had character and spunk, and he really fought for. No, he was a scumbag, a bona fide scumbag. And it is okay to say that. If you don't want to be called a scumbag after you die, don't be a scumbag when you are alive. It's really that simple. And I feel like there is this weird thing, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. There's this weird thing that happens when these people die, that everybody wants to clutch their pearls and pretend like it's not okay to speak the truth and the reality. Like, you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead. No, like, if I would have said this to his face, if he were alive, I'm not going to just pretend he was somebody he wasn't because he died. Like, that's weird to me. It's always been weird to me. I don't like it. I feel like you should just be honest about who he was as an individual, and nothing about that changes just because he died, guys. Like, it's okay. You can still, be honest with yourself about who he was and speak it into existence. It was who he was. Here's another one. This is one of my favorite ones, where he's talking about how Donald Trump is his favorite president, and you'll see why.
I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people, and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II.
We've run out of bombs. That's why Trump is his favorite president, because Trump bombed enough people to run out of bombs. I mean, Barack Obama did that too. I wonder if he was a big fan of Barack Obama, because Barack Obama bombed enough people to run out of bombs too in Syria. So somehow I don't think that probably would have been as exciting for him. But there you have it. Trump is his favorite president because we ran out of bombs.
And he was clearly drunk during that little speech or whatever that was. I mean, he was literally swaying and slurring and everything. So you'll have to forgive him this time. Of course, he probably would have said the exact same thing, if not worse, if he was completely sober. So there's that.
I mean, listen, again, I could have literally done an entire 3-hour show just on these clips and I mean, it's hard to even choose which ones to show, because there are so many of them, of him being just a repugnant piece of crap.
And it's worse than that, Misty. I mean, I guess it's okay. I mean, is it too soon? But most people, especially in this sphere, looked at the guy and saw the way he reacted to the death and destruction, and honestly, truly thought that he was getting like a raging boner over the whole thought of the death and destruction, which, again, you know some of this stuff, like, because you watch some of that true crime and those detective shows, that's another sign that you're sick in the head, right?
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes,
This guy was
100%.
sick in the head.
You're 100% right. And we're going to play, Caitlin Johnstone wrote a piece kind of expressing the same thing I'm expressing here, but obviously in much better terms, because she's a really great writer. But she talks about his like sexual attraction to war. And it's it's weird and it's gross and I don't understand it, but that's who he was. And I feel like, again, it's okay to just admit that that's who he was. So I have like a gazillion other ones that between, actually, let me play one more terrible one about him, because I feel like this is pretty nasty, where he's talking about using nukes.
He decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose, and work with them to minimize casualties. Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
I mean, it wasn't okay. Hope that helps.
Exactly. Somebody had to say it, right?
Yeah. The idea that that's his argument is like, it was okay for us to drop nukes on Japan, so why can't Israel drop nukes on Gaza? Like, it wasn't okay, my guy. But that's the way that's his mentality. But the ones that I wanted to show, that just because I thought this was very funny. So Lindsey Graham was stuck up Trump's ass in the later years of his life, but they weren't always buds. He had a really big problem with him in 2015, 2016. There was a lot of John McCain stuff that went on. I'm sure you guys all remember that Trump often said terrible things about John McCain, which is fine by me. But Lindsey Graham was very good friends with John McCain, so that really rustled his feathers. So he was not happy about that. But this was just to show you the dynamic that they used to have, where they were definitely not good friends. And Trump did something that's actually kind of funny. But let's just show. I'll show the Lindsey Graham clip, and then we'll show Trump's reaction to it.
That he's a jackass.
Really?
That he's bringing his name down and he's not helping the process, and he shouldn't be commander-in-chief. If you want to be commander-in-chief of the armed forces, you need to understand that John McCain and all like him, not just John, are truly American heroes. And then when you put yourself in harm's way, that makes you a hero. But you know what I think makes you a hero? When you're the spouse raising kids when your loved one's deployed. I've been in the military for 33 years. It truly is a team and a family. Mm-hmm. So what he said about John, I think, was offensive. He's becoming a jackass at a time when we need to have a serious debate about the future of the party and the country.
I mean, I guess a broken clock is right twice a day. I agree with him. Trump's a jackass. No question about it, right? No question about that. Yeah, but this was Trump's reaction.
Remember the phone thing? Trump also he doxed his phone number.
That's what I'm about to show you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. That's what I'm about to show you, because it is kind of funny. Like this is classic Trump.
So he calls me a jackass this morning. And I said to myself, you know, it's amazing. He doesn't seem like a very bright guy. Okay? He actually probably seems to me not as bright, honestly, as Rick Perry. But today I got called a jackass by this guy. And then I said to myself, hey, didn't this guy call me like 4 years ago? Yes. He called me 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. Lindsey Graham. I didn't even know who he was. He goes, Mr. Trump, this is Senator Lindsey Graham. I wonder if it would be possible for you to call Fox. Because, you know, until I ran, I had that little thing which I do just for fun. Fox and Friends are so great. Brian and Steve and Elizabeth, they're great people, right? They're great. And he wanted to know whether or not I could give him a good reference on Fox and Friends, okay? He wanted to know, would I do that? And then, of course, he wanted to know whether or not he could come and see me for some campaign contribution. And he gave me his number, and I found the card. I wrote the number down. I don't know if it's the right number. Let's try it. 202. I don't know. Maybe it's, you know, it's 3-4 years ago, so maybe it's an old number. 202. 202-228-0292. So, I don't know. Give it a shot.
It's amazing. It's so funny. Oh. Classic trolling. Like, that's classic Trump, like the funny side of Trump. Trump is obviously a menace to society. Like, but then he does funny stuff, and at least he's entertaining. I mean, listen, if we got to live in the collapse of empire, at least we got to find the silver linings, and at least he's entertaining, I guess. That's about all we can work with there. So
That was easier to say his first time around, though,
yeah,
unfortunately.
very true. Yes. He's not really funny anymore, honestly. Now he just seems to be unnecessarily cruel, petulant, throwing temper tantrums constantly. It's just constant. Y'all, my kids are better behaved. My kids have always been better behaved. Like my kids didn't throw tantrums that large. He is a giant man baby. And yes,
He exudes this certain je ne sais cringe. That's what it is.
100%. Yes, he is. He's a disaster. But I just thought that was funny, just to show you that, you know, as much as Lindsey Graham was up his ass at the end of his life, there was a time when they were not friends. And I think it just goes to show you that political opportunism can mend any relationship. That's really all that it amounts to, is if there's if it's politically advantageous for Lindsey Graham to kiss Donald Trump's ass, he will do it. He did do it. And that's just how politics works. But here, I wanted to just play really quickly. Again, I promise it's only like 3 minutes long. It's read by her husband. But this is a piece that Caitlin Johnstone wrote in response to Lindsey Graham's death.
Well, at least Lindsey Graham is dead. The only positive thing about the Iran war heating up again is that Lindsey Graham won't be around to enjoy it. The bloodthirsty South Carolina senator breathed his last on Saturday, succumbing to what his office describes as a brief and sudden illness after a political career dedicated to promoting wars, airstrikes, and proxy conflicts at every possible opportunity. People have long poked fun at the hypocrisy of Lindsey Graham living as an obvious closeted gay man in a political party with a virulently anti-LGBTQ platform. I personally have always found Graham's sexual attraction to men a lot less interesting than his sexual attraction to acts of mass military slaughter. Ever since the death of Graham's dear friend John McCain, nobody on Capitol Hill has been able to match his gleeful enthusiasm for the shredding of human bodies using high-priced war machinery. Wherever there was any debate about dropping bombs, launching missiles, toppling foreign governments, arming proxy forces, or imposing starvation sanctions, you could always count on Lindsey Graham to be the first and loudest voice arguing in favor of more death and destruction. Graham has personally taken credit for persuading President Trump to begin the war with Iran. In the months leading up to his unexpected demise, the senator had advocated for direct U.S. military interventionism in Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Yemen, Nigeria, Lebanon, and Palestine, and had just returned from a trip to Kyiv promoting the U.S. proxy war against Russia. He was literally pushing for more war and military expansionism until the very end of his life. All the world's worst people are publicly expressing their grief about the loss of their beloved war slut, from Trump to Benjamin Netanyahu to Itamar Ben-Gvir to Tom Cotton to Mike Huckabee. Meanwhile, everyone who's not a warmongering psychopath is having a splendid day. Of course, we're seeing imperial narrative managers like Piers Morgan wagging their fingers and chiding their audiences not to speak ill of the dead, but the hell with them. We're not doing that. Politeness is not more important than Lindsey Graham's victims. The liberal desire for propriety and nice feelings does not outweigh the importance of naming and shaming Graham's frenetic scramble to murder as many human beings as he possibly could throughout his evil, miserable life. Lindsey Graham is dead, and it is good that he is dead. May his omnicidal ideology soon join him in the arms of the cold, cold ground. May the insane, insatiable God he worshipped cease to gain recognition on this planet. Lindsey Graham is dead. At least that's one good thing. No matter what else happens today, they can't take that away from us.
And there you go. And just to be clear, I just want to end on this. As Caitlin mentioned in that piece, the likes of Mike Huckabee and Benjamin Netanyahu and Gvir and all of the world's worst people are mourning Lindsey Graham's death. So this is what I had to say to that. if people like this mourn your death, just know I am celebrating it. And that's how I feel about that. When Ben Gvir is mourning your death, you're probably on the wrong side of a few issues. So there you go.
I saw a post from Satan, too, who said he was very upset to hear the news. Just saying.
Oh, a little bit of good news to start the show off. You got to love it. Okay, we're going to move on. And again, thank you for joining us here on the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm your guest host for today, Misty Winston. I'm joined by my friend Ruckus, Adam Clark, but we call him Ruckus. I call him Ruckus. I'll always call him Ruckus. But we are here today talking about multiple different things. We're going to move now to Mitch McConnell, which is a very, this story is very interesting. Mitch McConnell kind of disappeared a little while ago. We don't really know what happened. They've been very strangely vague, and they're obviously lying. I don't think there's any question about it. They're obviously lying what's going on. What I find interesting about this, though, is that a sitting U.S. senator can quite literally disappear off the face of the earth. And no, but can you imagine, Adam, like if you disappear from your job, you get fired. Like there's no question about it. And they're trying to claim that he's actually working from the hospital with his staff. And everybody knows that that's crap. We've all seen the videos of Mitch McConnell over the years. He can barely form a coherent sentence. There's often times where he will just like completely zone out, space out, stare off into space as if he's having some sort of seizure or something. So the idea that Mitch McConnell is still functional is ridiculous, but now he's been like missing in action for like a month or so. So this is a statement that was released from Senator Mitch McConnell's office, and it says, U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell released the following note to constituents regarding his hospitalization and recovery. To my fellow Kentuckians, when you elected me to a 7th term and made me our Commonwealth's longest serving senator, you did so trusting that I'd keep showing up to fight for you every day. And over the past several weeks, Elaine and I have appreciated both your well wishes and your honest questions about what was keeping me away from the Senate. You all know how folks of my generation often hesitate to share the vulnerability that comes with growing older. Even in the public eye, I feel that same instinct. I can't help it. But at the same time, I've had more than my share of experience with physical vulnerabilities. Surviving childhood polio. Here he goes with the feel sorry for me. You got to throw that in there. Surviving childhood polio meant spending my entire life with mobility challenges. They haven't exactly gotten easier to manage with age, and last month I took a fall, which landed me in the hospital. My doctors have confirmed that I didn't break any bones or suffer a concussion. I didn't have a heart attack or a stroke. I don't have any tumors or hemorrhages, but I was briefly unconscious and was taken to the hospital. While receiving excellent care over the past several weeks, I've also had to deal with a mild case of pneumonia. I can assure you that I've been a good patient. At my age, I tend to do what my doctors tell me to do. I've submitted to every test they can think of to help figure out what caused this incident, and I'm continuing to do everything they ask to speed my recovery. In fact, with signs of continued progress, I've been able to move from hospital care to a rehabilitation center where I'll keep regaining my strength. As much as it frustrates me, this process takes time, and on the advice of my doctors, I won't be able to return to the Senate floor to vote quite yet, but rest assured that in the meantime, I'm not taking a break from the Senate business that matters to you. I've been working closely with my legislative staff on current issues and with my Kentucky team who help provide me timely constituent services across our Commonwealth. I've also been keeping in touch with my Senate colleagues on the appropriations process, midterm politics, and everything in between. You're right to expect your representatives to work hard for you, and part of my decision to retire at the end of my term this coming January was being honest about the demands of Senate work, but I still have unfinished business to complete on your behalf, and I have every intention of finishing the job you elected me to do. I'll keep working hard to get back on the Senate floor as soon as possible, and I'll keep you posted on the progress of my recovery. Until then, I'm so grateful for your prayers and well wishes. And then they included this note from the Office of the Attending Physician, supposedly, that he is seeing. And this says, Senator McConnell has experienced several falls throughout the year that have been attributed to his post-polio condition. He was admitted to the hospital 4 weeks ago after falling at home and sustaining minor injuries. A comprehensive evaluation by a multidisciplinary team determined that he had no fractures, cardiac abnormalities, stroke, tumor, or hemorrhage. Early in his hospitalization, he developed pneumonia, which responded rapidly to antibiotic treatment. The remainder of his hospital stay focused on physical therapy and strategies to reduce his risk of future falls. He has been medically cleared to continue fully participating in his intensive physical therapy program. And then they released this photo, which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's like, it looks like a like a kidnap victim, like a hostage situation where he's got like the paper very like conveniently displayed. And there's been a lot of talk.
The proof of life thing that they do, right?
Yes. And true crime nerd, I instantly thought, and this is very niche, but if you follow true crime, I thought Israel Keys. That's what I thought. If you know, you know. I won't get into it because it's very like morbid, but that's what like the first thing I thought of was, holy crap, Israel Keys. But this just, Adam, there's a lot of talk about this. A lot of people are saying that it's AI, which it's possible. I know that several people that I know have run it through multiple AI detection programs. Now, granted, those are not necessarily like 100%, but most of them are saying that it's a legitimate photo. But this, come on, guys, this is weird. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is an old picture because suddenly he looks better than he did. Like he looks younger. Like his hair looks a little bit darker. I don't know, Adam. What do you think? Do you think this is a legitimate photo? Do you think this is AI? Do you think this is just like Photoshop enhanced to make him look better? What's your take on this?
I think it could be any of those things, and that's the damn problem, right? I mean, we have no institution, no process to trust other than what William Cooper used to teach us. We have to prove things for ourselves, which is very difficult to do in this instance. But remember back in the day, like there was a paparazzi that would follow the celebrities around all the time and always be in their face and always know exactly where they are and what they're doing. How come we can't have something like that going on and following this guy around and we see him on the TMZ? Like there he is, and he's just, there he was. He just picked up a Happy Meal at McDonald's or whatever. Yeah, and all of this is fishy, and I think it's all intentionally meant to be fishy. What's actually the most interesting thing to me is that statement that you read right there. Now that he's working from home, we'll call it, he's doing the remote worker thing, Misty. That's all right. We'll just call him a remote worker now. So he's writing the statements now and doing all that instead of standing up there and taking a god-awful long time to explain what he's saying, freeze in the middle of it for 20 minutes, and then get back to it. So what you just read right there would have taken him like at least a couple hours. So he's clearly saving us time, money, effort. This is a good thing. I like this hybrid work, Mitch McConnell turtle thing, whatever. Yeah, but no, I'm not buying it. I don't think he's okay. I think they're really trying to hide his death because they don't want Massey to have a chance at any sort of special election.
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely agree with that. It feels like digital Weekend at Bernie's. You know what I mean? Like this is them like propping him up digitally. Like, look, he's alive. I'm not sure if I buy it. Maybe he is alive. I don't know. But even if he is alive, I think we all know that he is not running anything. He's making zero decisions. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, bro can't even form a coherent thought. Like that's been the case for some time now. This is not a new thing with Mitch McConnell. He has been ineffective and incompetent for a very long time now. And I think that you're right. I think that they don't want Massey to have a chance to jump in and potentially take his spot. But how long could they possibly keep this from people? I don't know the answer to that. I mean,
Dad, I could say they could easily do this type of digital thing because we live in the digital age. I mean, most people won't even leave their freaking houses to go see what's happening at their neighbors, and they'd rather check up with them on their Facebook page. It's crazy. So I think it would be very easy to do. I think it's also why it's very easy for them to manipulate any sort of information in the age of X and Twitter and TikTok and all that stuff. So yeah, very concerning. But there's at least a number of things that are just like tells that are just like, well, this is beyond fishy. This is not normal. And clearly there's some sort of cover up going. It raises the conspiracy theory, armchair detective heckles. The number one is the pose, why they're doing it this way with the newspaper, the proof of life video, right? We already mentioned that. The other thing is that this insistence from the doctor that even though he's fallen many times before, he's had these episodes and he's always hurt himself, this time he magically he just temporarily passed out. Everything's fine. There's no heart attack, no broken bones, no bleeding, no issues whatsoever. We're just taking it easy. We're just working from home. Sorry, we haven't been around for a month, but here's what's going on. Hi, so it's like, wow, what are you doing? That's just kind of weird. They could, if they are using AI, they should be using AI to write a better script. That's what they should be doing, Misty.
Yeah, good point. But on that note,
honey, show them you're okay. See, I told you he was okay.
He's doing great, guys. Everything's fine. Don't worry.
Oh, that was so
fine.
Real. Definitely real.
Everything's fine, guys. Yeah. I mean, listen, we are in the digital age. They can absolutely They could absolutely do this. So, and as you mentioned earlier, the problem with this, and every time something like this happens, it lays it bare. The issue with this is that we live in a country where we cannot trust any of our institutions. We can't trust our media. We can't trust the government. We can't trust any of our elected officials. And that's what leads to, I mean, we have to be incredibly skeptical at all times. And we have to constantly try to suss out what is real and what's not at all times, which is very intentional. They want us all confused. And they want us all chasing our tails. And this is just another example of that. So there you go, guys. Mitch McConnell's fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything is cool. I mean, whatever. I don't know. All right. Let's move on. And again, thank you for tuning in to the Jimmy Dore Show. I am your guest host for today, Misty Winston. I'm your friend Adam Clark. We call him Ruckus around here. And we're going to jump now to Jack Posobiec, who is a raging turd. We all know that, right? But this is very interesting. This is the Charlie Kirk saga, obviously, has been going on. The trial's going on right now. It is insanely, it's very difficult for me to imagine why anyone, and it's every time something like this happens, I'm very confused by people who just buy the official narrative without any questioning whatsoever. And it's always so interesting to me, and it's happening right now. People who are like, oh yeah, they're telling us the truth, are people who have in the past been incredibly skeptical, rightfully so, about other narratives and other stories. But for some reason on this, and I find that psychology fascinating, where you recognize the fact that you can't trust the government. And like, for me, my jumping off point is always they're lying. And then I go from there. And I feel like there are people who previously understood that and who are now just swallowing whatever is being told to them. So this I thought was very interesting, though. They are currently having him do this absolute nonsense. He's lying straight to your face. But Frontline's TPUSA posted this, and he's talking about the details video of Tyler Robinson in today's preliminary hearing of allegedly taking the shot that killed Charlie Kirk. Judge Tony Graff is expected to rule on whether probable cause exists for trial following written briefs. So here's the video where Jack is talking about the supposed video of the shooter and the shooting taking place.
I think everything's been proven. I think it's proven. I would say beyond probable cause at this point. I think that the question for me is how do you even get reasonable doubt when there's so much evidence? But the thing that I do just have to say is that I know that you guys watching on live stream couldn't see the last video that was shown. It wasn't edited. It was zoomed in. Yeah. It was zoomed in from the surveillance video off campus, and specifically the part of the Losi Center, the roof, and you see everything. You see everything. He climbs over, he assembles the gun, he runs over to the edge, gets down in a prone position, and you see the time, and we all know what time. And it was like so slow, just watching those seconds, click, 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 and then you see him take the shot, and he takes the shot, and then immediately runs. And we've seen that video already, but I knew we were going to watch that, but I wasn't prepared to see this side of what happened, because we've never seen it before. The other end of the shot, obviously, but this is just evil, and I got very upset watching it, and the family was very hard to watch. Tyler wasn't even looking. He wasn't even looking. And I would just say that hope that video is.
Was it lagging?
Yeah, I thought
I think
so.
am I lagging? Because I feel like I don't know if it's me or I don't know if it's me. I can
It's
restart
outside
it.
forces. Outside forces.
Yeah. Well, I've also been having internet issues. We had to have some people out the other day to work on my internet. So I'll start it over. We don't have to play the whole thing. We'll just where he talks about the actual video because he's lying. Just again, let me just get that out there.
I think everything's been proven. I think it's proven. It's, I would say, beyond probable cause at this point. I think that the question for me is how do you even get reasonable doubt when there's so much evidence? But the thing that I do just have to say is that I know that you guys watching on live stream couldn't see the last video that was shown. Well, it wasn't edited. It was zoomed in. Yeah. It was zoomed in from the surveillance video off campus, and specifically the part of the Losi Center, the roof, and you see everything. You see everything. He climbs over, he assembles the gun, he runs over to the edge, gets down in a prone position, and you see the time, and we all know what time, and it was like so slow, just watching those seconds click, 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 and then you see him take the shot, and he takes the shot and then immediately runs, and we've seen that video already, but I knew we were going to watch that, but I wasn't prepared to see this side of what happened because we've never seen it before.
Okay, he's lying. He's absolutely lying. That video does not exist. And in fact, here's the prosecution stating clearly in court to the judge that the video that he is claiming that he just watched does not exist.
Is there any footage of the alleged shooting?
There is not, Judge.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Ms. Nestor, given that additional information and anything further from defense?
No, but I think I'd like to be crystal clear. You asked if there's any portion of this video that captures, and I believe you asked of the actual shooting. There's no video of that. There is video, however, and you've heard testimony related to this, where the shooter goes to the top of the Losi building, goes out to the edge of the building, low crawls, and then leaves after what we assume is the shot being fired. That's as close as it gets.
He lied. He very much lied to your faces. That video that he is claiming that he saw does not exist as expressed in court to the judge very clearly. So why they have him out here? I mean, and I love the fake emotion about it too, about how the family was there and they had to be forced to watch this, and I wasn't prepared to see it from this side. Well, it doesn't exist. So, I mean, great acting, I guess. But that video does not exist, Adam. What do you think about that?
I think this is the Mandela effect, Misty, thing, which is happening a lot faster now that they turned CERN off. I think that's what's happening here. Yeah. So in the real reality, before they flipped the switch and changed everything, he did see that video, and that video did exist, and we're just experiencing the Mandela effect. Yeah, I don't know. And even what you just played there was a little confusing to me. I'm still unclear as to whether or not there was an actual video that he actually watched something, but he may have blown it out of proportion or was mistaken about what he thought he was seeing, or I don't think he was mistaken about what he was seeing, if he saw anything at all. But yeah, very interesting, because he has to refer to like what he's describing there as something that, oh yeah, you guys didn't get to see this, but here's what happened. Just trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. Yeah. Here's how it went down. Right.
That's my favorite part, when they say, trust me, bro. Like, this is what I saw. Just trust me on this. And I just want to remind you guys that this is who we're dealing with. Okay. This guy. This is who we're dealing with. The guy that went to the White House and paraded around with this little binder, pretending as if he got some amazing scoop about the Epstein files. And it was absolutely nothing. So this is not the first time that this particular individual has been used in some sort of way to further an agenda, to perpetuate a psyop, to lie to people. This is kind of his shtick. This is what he has done. It's what he's used for. And I just thought that this was also very funny too. Somebody changed the the cover of the thing to Tyler Robinson shooting video. Because it's kind of in the same realm.
He was not alone during that binder ordeal.
No.
Either. It's just
there was how many people?
This is a bigger problem. There was a lot. There was a little group. It was like the gang of 8 or so. I don't remember how many there were, but we had Cat Turd. Cat Turd was there.
Yeah, they use libs of TikTok and
that's right.
This douche canoe. Like, what are we doing? And the idea that anybody bought into that or buying into this again is endlessly fascinating to me. The idea that people thought that they were just going to hand out a binder of the Epstein files to a bunch of weird internet people, like not. And listen, I'm not a journalism gatekeeper. I feel like that's a very dangerous slope. I feel like anybody who wants to go looking for the truth, in my opinion, is a journalist. That's essentially what journalism is just looking outside and reporting what you see. And so I don't mean to sound like a journalism gatekeeper, but the idea that they were giving him to libs of TikTok and this turd instead, an actual cat turd, instead of people who have at least a modicum of credibility, who have participated in covering big stories before, who have, I mean, like the Glenn Greenwalds of the world, and obviously they're not going to use Glenn Greenwald because this is why they use these turds, right? This is exactly why. They didn't want people with credibility. They didn't want people who would actually suss out that this was all nonsense. They wanted these types of people who will do anything for clout. And that's basically what they were doing. They were just clout chasing. And that's their whole shtick. That's how they operate. And this is just another example of that. But this, just so you guys know, he's lying to your face. He's going out on camera and telling you that he saw something that doesn't exist, as was very clearly expressed in court. So that's who he is. I don't know why he has any credibility left. I don't know why people are listening to anything that he has to say on any subject. He should have lost all credibility with the Epstein binder nonsense. Every single person involved in that should have lost their, not lost their platform, like being censored or silenced or suppressed. I'm not down for that. But everybody who watched them, listened to them, should have stopped. You should have stopped there. And they should have just been kind of ignored out of public life. That's kind of how I feel. The market should have spoken, and it should have been over at that point. Okay. We're going to take
Elon Musk was rewarding those people with his X-Bucks stuff there. Just saying.
Yeah. Yes. That's who these people are. Okay. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Trump is not an outlier. Trump is a continuation of what they've all been doing, at least since the war on terror began, if not before. And people warned against that, giving all these kind of powers, these imperial powers, to people like Bush Cheney and Barack Obama, who famously repealed the habeas corpus, then went on to prosecute journalists using the Espionage Act. More journalists prosecuted by Barack Obama under the Espionage Act than all the presidents combined before him. They all want to make you think it's just Donald Trump. It's just Donald Trump. But it is not just Donald Trump. He is just like the rest of them, except, as you say, he's more cavalier about it. He's actually, in a sense, he's more honest about it.
Oh, almost did it again. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I am your guest host, Misty Winston, who is known for leaving herself muted. That is my red flag. Okay, so we are joined today by my pal, Adam Clark. Adam is a good friend of mine. He used to be my news editor over at TNT Radio. So we worked together every day for a long time. It's been a while since we've done anything, so I'm very excited to have him here. Okay, Adam, we have a kind of a lengthy video. We're going to, and this is from Baron Coleman, and it's discussing the Charlie Kirk trial thing that is going on. There's a lot of drama that's happening in that, obviously. So he is discussing a certain aspect of the trial of the evidence that's being presented and why there are some issues. It is a very long video, and this is just, we even tried to cut it down. We're not going to play it all. I'll play a little bit and then we'll kind of discuss, what we think about it. But it is very interesting. So I definitely recommend go watch the full thing for yourself in entirety. I think that's important. Just to go watch the whole thing. There's a lot of things that he goes over in detail that we're not gonna be able to get into here. But let's just dive right in, and I'll kind of stop and go if we have some things to say about it.
There's a guy on X named Diligent Denizen. Diligent Denizen, I'm going to show you his post here. Diligent Denizen spent the week on the ground in Utah. There was a rumor that Tyler Robinson had gone to Panguitch, Utah, about 3 hours from Orem, about a little under 3 hours, maybe 2:55 from Orem, and that he was spotted there after 9 o'clock. Well, if you do a little math, if he's spotted there at 9 o'clock and it's 3 hours away, that's midnight. We'll look at the text messages and say, if he was in Orem, could he have sent these text messages? So just bear with me, we'll get there. But now we're finding out it was closer to 10 p.m. that he was there, which would make it nearly impossible for him to be back to Orem until about 12:30 or later. And again, we'll look at the text messages, the alleged text messages between Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs, and ask you, is it even possible? Is it even possible? Diligent Denizen was on the ground and interviewed the staff at Cowboys Smokehouse. These were the people who served Tyler Robinson, who took his credit card payment, who checked him out at the end of the night. Two of the witnesses 100% positively ID'd Tyler. Yes, that was his voice. Yes, that's his face. Yes, that's what he was wearing. It's unquestionable. There's no doubt. Here's the credit card that he gave us, or he gave us a credit card. He paid, he checked out. Maybe it was a debit card. And they contacted the FBI with that information. But they were wholly unsatisfied with the FBI's response. It was really just kind of oh, you heard he was at Panguitch? Okay, we'll follow up if we need anything. And then they kind of got off the phone. And so they reached out to Candace. Candace broke this news months ago. They reached out to Candace and said, hey, this guy was here. And the FBI doesn't seem very encouraged to look into it. Now, neither the prosecution nor the defense has contacted the restaurant. They've not contacted the owner. They've not contacted the waitstaff. They've not contacted the individuals who spotted Tyler. And that gives me deep, deep concerns for Tyler Robinson's defense. I did not know this. I evaluated last week's hearing, believing the defense was giving him their best defense possible.
Okay, so I want to talk about that aspect of it, because that's the crazy part. I'm not at all surprised that the cops aren't looking into this. Obviously, I'm not surprised that the prosecution is not looking into this. The fact that his defense hasn't contacted this restaurant and spoken to any of these staff members is wild. That's crazy work. And I'm assuming that they have been informed of this, I would guess. I'm sure that I know that they said that they contacted the FBI. I would hope that they'd also contacted his defense team. But I'm not listen, cops do this all the time. Prosecutions do this all the time. They will ignore evidence that makes their job harder. And if they want to prosecute this kid and they want to convict this kid, they'll ignore evidence that might make that more difficult. Absolutely. They do it all the time. They do it all the time, all the time, all the time. I'm a true crime nerd. They do it all the time. So that is not in any way surprising to me, Adam. But his defense, bro, his defense not contacting this restaurant and at least talking to these people, at least why are they not asking for the credit card receipt? Why are they not asking, are there security cameras where you can see that he is in this restaurant at this time? It's wild to me, dude. What is happening?
It does not look good for his defense. It's almost like they've been compromised or something, or in the very least, they're incompetent. So pick one. Either they're incompetent or they've been compromised. But either way, that's not a good sign for this dude, Mr. Tyler Robinson here, yeah?
No. And again, I don't even care what you think of, is he guilty? Is he not? I feel like I don't believe the official story. Obviously, I don't know why anyone does. But it doesn't matter. Even if you think that he's guilty, this should be suspect to you. The idea that they are not even attempting to look into this story. And listen, there's going to be times, and there always is, especially with high profile cases, where people will try to insert themselves in order to achieve some 15 minutes of fame or whatever. And we see it happen all of the time. It happens again, especially in the high profile cases. I can remember that the Chris Watts murder case, there was a gay man who inserted himself and tried to claim that he had an affair with Chris Watts, who murdered his family. It turned out to be all lies. And he just inserted himself in order to get some 15 minutes of fame. He got to go on a couple news shows and do interviews or whatever before he was found out to be a big fat liar. So that's not, it's not unheard of that that's the case. But if you are a defense team and you are given information that says that there are people in a witness, more than one person, who say that they saw your client in a restaurant far away from where he was supposed to be at this time, and they have credit card receipts, and there are more than one eyewitness, and they are corroborating each other's stories, you at least need to look into it. So the idea that they haven't even contacted them is crazy work. So let's continue a little bit more of this video.
This is what is known as an alibi witness. No, I couldn't have been in Orem sending those text messages. I was in Panguitch. And had I been in Panguitch, as my alibi suggests I was in Panguitch, there's no way I could have been sitting in Orem looking for a gun. There's no reason the defense team has not gone in person to Panguitch, Utah, and interviewed these people and collected all evidence they can possibly get. None. There's no reason. There's no reason, frankly, the prosecution hasn't. They're under a duty to find justice, not to convict Tyler Robinson in the face of all contradictory evidence, but to find evidence of who did the crime. And if there's evidence that Tyler Robinson was not where his text messages said he was, they're under a duty to figure that out. And they haven't contacted these people either. But this whole thing makes it impossible for Tyler to be waiting for the police to leave, looking and texting Lance and saying, hey, I'm sitting out here watching a cop, and we'll go through this. But there's no way he could have been there. If he did not leave before 10 o'clock, he didn't leave Panguitch before 10 o'clock, then he was not there in Orem before midnight. And he said he was going to update Lance Twiggs by midnight because he had been attempting to get the rifle and was unsuccessful because a cop was lingering. So, one of two things is true. Because I'm going to rule out time traveler here. Diligent has given 3 options. I'm going to rule this out, then I'm going to play the video. Either the texts are fabricated, which I now wholly believe, or someone was pretending to be Tyler, meaning the prosecution is saying someone at the scene was acting like they were Tyler, but were not at all Tyler, or he's a time traveler. I'm ruling out time traveler. But let me play this video here because it's pretty stunning. For anonymity purposes, the guy has taken off his name back.
I'm here interviewing one of the employees that met Tyler Robinson on the night of September the 10th, around 9 p.m. here at Cowboys Smokehouse in Panguitch, Utah. So how long have you worked at Cowboys?
I've been here about a year and a half now.
A year and a half now?
Yep.
And were you here?
Yes, I was working here. I remembered him coming in, sitting at the bar. He ordered a steak, a couple beers.
Did you sit at the end of the bar?
Close to the end, second seat in. I wasn't the waiter who was taking his order and everything, but I did have a couple interactions with him, just trying to help out. After I'd notified my boss, we reached out to the authorities, contacted the FBI. They got our contact information, but we never heard anything from them.
You never heard back from the FBI after you reported it?
Never heard anything. And that's kind of what prompted me to send it in. It just didn't sit right with me.
And how certain are you that it was Tyler Robinson that you saw?
100%.
100%?
When
I will add that's more certain than Lance Twiggs was that the guy in the stairwell was Tyler Robinson. If you remember from Lance Twiggs' testimony, his 1102 testimony, Lance Twiggs was asked, is this Tyler Robinson? He's like, I can't be 100% sure. I mean, it kind of looks like him. They got this. He's wearing jeans. Tyler wore jeans. He's wearing shoes. Tyler wore shoes. He's wearing a hat. Tyler wore a hat. I've never seen him in that hat in particular, but he liked hats. He's a big hat guy. Big into hats. Sunglasses? Oh, man, he loved sunglasses. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like him based on the clothing. That's not a very confident answer that was Tyler Robinson in the stairwell, whereas this guy is like, oh, yeah, 100%, no question.
I am going to interject a little bit here, because just because an eyewitness says they're 100% certain doesn't mean anything. Eyewitness testimony is notoriously unreliable. People see things, misremember them. The human brain is a interesting thing. It works in very mysterious ways. And I mean, it can mess with memory very quickly. So even if you see something and immediately go and report it, instantly your brain starts to forget things, see things differently, all of that stuff. So you have to be very careful with eyewitness testimony in any situation, because it is just not reliable. That's just reality. That's just the way that it works. And that's why it's difficult to even try a case based on eyewitness testimony, because it is so unreliable. However, you have these two people. And again, this is not really about, do you think that he was there or not? It's not really about, do you think that he did it or not? It's about the fact that the defense was presented with information that could help their client, because all you have to do is introduce reasonable doubt. That's all you have to do. And the idea that they were presented with this information and haven't even attempted to look into it is, I don't even know what that is. It's malpractice for sure. I don't know what that looks like for him. I don't know if he's aware of this smokehouse. I don't know if anybody's asked him. Maybe his defense team has already consulted with him. Hey, did you go to the smokehouse? And he said no. I don't know. But the idea that they haven't even gone to talk to them is a very strange thing to me, Adam. I do not understand it. It seems like really, I mean, I don't know. This kid's life's on the line, and you can't even be bothered to go interview some waiters about where he may have potentially been.
Well, and I personally can't prove that the defense is purposefully not attempting to seek this information. So maybe they don't know, or maybe because we wouldn't know. I mean, we wouldn't be privy to this. Maybe they requested this and somebody or something else blocked it. Because there's like a network, tight people will just say, I don't need to get too conspiratorial about it, but the types that hang out together in that state, and judges and restaurant owners and credit card processing people, insurance agents, cops. There's a lot of corruption going on. So well, whoops, we had the credit card receipt. Then maybe there's a reason why it would appear that they're not seeking this information. But then again, I mean, with such a high profile, questionable thing, again, you would think this should be the number one thing that if we were their defense, we would be asking for this and presenting this as the reasonable doubt in court.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And again, you're right. We don't know. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know if maybe they have checked out. Maybe they've decided that it isn't legit. Maybe we don't know. And you're right. There could be a whole other side of this that nobody's really considering. So there's a lot. But I do think that this is something that needs to be called attention to. Obviously, people aren't talking about it. I mean, Candace is really the only person I see attempting to, not really the only person, but obviously the loudest person I see even asking questions. And I mean, kudos to her. She's getting absolutely smeared and slandered and all kinds of stuff when it seems to me as if she just wants to know what the hell happened to her friend. And justifiably so. And it's weird to me that so many people are not more curious about all of the inconsistencies and all of the weird stuff that's going on. And the fact that for some strange reason, Ben Shapiro's security was on the phone with Charlie Kirk's security as he's bleeding out actively in the back of an SUV. Like, that's weird. That's weird. And I think that, like, that's obviously weird. They didn't even get along. So why were they on the phone with Ben Shapiro's security people? I don't know. And I feel like that's a reasonable question to be asked. I feel like there's a lot of reasonable questions to be asked. And this is just another one to add to the bunch. So let's hear just a little bit more about what this waiter has to say, and then we'll just move on.
No question.
I had heard his voice. He was just a weird guy, and I wasn't really paying
No offense to Tyler, with the weird guy comment, but we'll let him continue.
attention to my phone that day. I'd seen that Charlie had been shot, and I didn't really want to give any of my energy to it until I was done with work. And the next morning, I went to my other job, and my coworker was kind of talking to me about it. He pulled up a picture. He said I looked like I was a little shocked by it because I recognized the face. And then later that night, or that day rather, they released a video of him getting his college acceptance letter, and when I heard his voice, it was no doubt that was him.
And do you know what time he left?
It was close to closing, so it was around.
What time do you guys close?
10 o'clock. I was the one who helped him check out. Too.
And you were the one that helped him check out? So
Yep.
you're the one that you took the card from him?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's just like I told. I took the card. I figured that would be good information for the feds to look into it. And
they never checked into it, not once?
I don't know if they checked into that. I know they got that information from my boss.
So they got the information, but you don't know. You never heard back again?
Never heard anything from them.
The defense, did the prosecution ever reach out to you guys to come testify or anything like that?
No one's reached out to us at all.
The defense hasn't reached out to you?
Nope.
No one's reached out to you whatsoever, even though you saw him that night?
Yeah, no one's reached out regarding anything to do with Tyler Robinson.
And that's crazy. Not even the defense. Like, that is crazy to me. I feel like that is a huge story. Should be talked about more. Any defense worth anything would go and at the very least, have a conversation with these people, right? That seems like very basic stuff. So the idea that they have not even bothered to reach out to them on any level is crazy. Now, it is good to know that the credit card information seemingly at least was given from, I mean, at least that's what they say, from the restaurant to the FBI. I don't know what came of that. Obviously, nobody knows what came of that. But again, to me, the biggest thing about this is the idea that the defense team has not reached out to these people to even question them once, to even attempt to, I don't know. It just seems like a very strange lack of action on the part of the defense. But there you go.
This whole affair is a tough one to go into when you're already a skeptical person.
Yes.
Because people are going to jump at you, be like, "Oh no, you're in denial," or
Yeah.
something. No, nobody's in denial. We're just like doing the old-fashioned thing. We want real evidence, not a narrative.
Yes.
I mean, this is one of those things we all got to witness. What happened on camera happened. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was horrific. It was a terrible experience for anyone who had to see that or deal with it. But there's so many holes in the story, so many weird rabbit holes that have evolved out of this. There's entire groups of people who believe the dude's not even dead. But that's how many bizarre, fishy things there are about this. So many that I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it, to be completely honest with you. So again, I think it symbolized a turning point in this new era that we're in, where we don't know what is real. We have to question everything. And then when they do things like this, did they really do that? Are we just perceiving that they did that? Is it the Mandela effect? Is it CERN? Or do they just do this on purpose so that we all are scratching our heads and they're easier to, pick us off one by one or control us?
Yeah. And I feel like it could be any one of those or any combination of those. But what I do know is that, and listen, I don't have a dog in this fight. I do not care. I mean, I don't really care. Like, obviously I care that we know what reality is and that we know what the truth is in this situation, as I care about with every situation. But I'm not like a Charlie Kirk fan. I'm not like a Charlie Kirk hater. I don't really care. Like, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not a Candace fan. I don't really care. I know that Erica Kirk creeps me the out, but that's a whole other story. But I just, like, I'm not super invested in this story. So I'm not like coming at this from any angle or any narrative or any agenda. I just want to know what the hell happened. I want to know what the reality is. I want to know who actually shot Charlie Kirk. I want to know why they shot Charlie Kirk. I want to know if any foreign governments might have been involved in the shooting of Charlie Kirk. I want to know what happened. And I feel like we should all want to know what is happening in our country and in our lives and what is reality, because that's the scary part about this, is that, I mean, as we talked about earlier, this is like the digital age where quite literally we do not know if what we are seeing with our own eyes is real. And that's a very scary proposition. So this is just another addition of that. And I don't know that we're ever going to know. And maybe in 40 years, they'll declassify some files and we'll figure out what a little piece of what happened. That's generally what happens in this country. But stay skeptical, y'all. Question everything. Don't buy anything. Don't believe anything. And I know that sounds really like depressing. Like you can't believe anybody or anything, but it's true. I mean, you just have to do your best to try to suss out what's real, try to figure out, watch multiple sources and try to figure out kind of sort of where the truth may lie. That's really all that you can do right now. And try not to let it overwhelm you, because it's overwhelming to me. I'm sure that it is for everybody. Like trying to live in this existence and figure out what the hell's going on every day and what's real and what's not is a lot to handle. So again, please go check out that whole, again, what's his name? Where is it? Baron, I think Coleman. I'm sorry, Baron Coleman. Go check out that whole video. He goes over all of this, including the times, the timestamps, the text messages, all of that stuff in great detail. It's a very long video, so obviously I can't go into all of it here on this show. So please go check that out for yourself. I mean, again, just try to figure it out the best you can. And I don't know. It's a lot, Adam. It is a lot right now to try to figure out what's going on in the world. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to get some super chats. But before we go, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find whatever you got going on right now.
Sure. There's a one-stop shop for that. Just head over to alternatecurrentradio.com and you'll find everything you need right there. Thanks again for having me, Misty. This has been a blast.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Look forward to next time we get together on air.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to do some super chats and then we'll be back.
Hi, everyone. Mike is working. Yes. All right. We've got super chats for you, guys and gals and gentle thems. Here we go. Hook says the problems with having a gay old Goyam spokesperson, I think we're talking about Lindsey Graham here, is they're too honest. So we had to make some room for new, younger, and more persuasive spokesmen to convince the Amalek to give us their money and die at our will. Thank you, Hook. Chris Allegra says, Misty. Misty's fan is here. Nick, when Lindsey says we are going to blow the hell out of them, consider you may be misinterpreting what he meant. I agree. I think that, yep. GDNPB. Oh, darn. Satan's favorite senator is gone. I can't ever be happy when anyone dies, even though I want to be. But it's okay if others can, with POSs like LG. Thank you, GDNPB. No fried bologna. We should only speak good of the dead. He's dead. Good. Dorothy Parker. Thank you, No Fried Bologna. Make sure I am not missing something over here. All right. Vienticus Prime, good to see you. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy. And so you don't comply. I've got just a few more, and then we will be back with Misty and her next guest. Duly noted, need to bring back VHS tapes. Username, fortunately for the Utah prosecutors, the Tyler Robinson evidence was found on 24 golden plates in the desert. Oh gosh, I feel like there's something over my head with this. T-Bone, Misty, I think you're awesome. And I love that you don't give an F. You rock. Yes, we all love that about Misty. Thank you, T-Bone. And finally, Vienticus Prime, ineffective assistance of counsel. All right, everyone, back to Misty.
I remembered to unmute myself this time. All right. Okay, we have a lot to get through still, so we're just going to dive right back into it. And yes, I do not have any Fs to give. I lost those a long time ago, unfortunately. Some people like that about me. Some people do not. I don't care. Okay, so we're going to jump into a little bit of a foreign policy segment here. And of course, when I do foreign policy, I have to bring on my good pal, Kyle Anslone. So you guys know Kyle. He's been on the show many times. So he is the news editor of the Libertarian Institute, opinion editor at antiwar.com, where he covers issues related to foreign policy, war, and civil liberties, often focusing on U.S. involvement in Asia, Ukraine, and the Middle East. And he's the co-host of Conflicts of Interest and the host of the Kyle Anslone Show. Everybody, please go check that out. You can find that over on the YouTubes and anywhere you get your podcasts and all that good stuff. So definitely go and subscribe, follow, share, like all the stuff. So Kyle, thanks for joining me, my friend. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Misty. Always appreciate that you have me on your show whenever you got the platform to do it.
Yeah. I will do that anytime. Okay, so there's a lot to get through. We're going to start with the potential of Iran rebuilding. So there's a video that I'm going to play here. This is from CNN, but we're just going to jump right into this.
One of several shared exclusively with CNN may show signs of Iran attempting to rebuild its nuclear facilities. This is one of several locations across the country where we've identified recent activity, both at nuclear and missile sites. The activity in nuclear sites in particular raises questions as to whether Iran violated the Memorandum of Understanding it signed with the US in late June, even before President Trump seemed to signal its end this week. So for weeks, we've only got glimpses of what's been happening inside Iran. Providers have been withholding access to satellite imagery across the region at the request of the US government. But now those restrictions are loosening, and we've been analysing new imagery across Iran to see which sites they're starting to clear and repair, to give us a sense of which may be the most important. Parchin is one of them. It was struck earlier this year. Now, in new imagery from June and July, analysed by CNN in conjunction with the Institute for Science and International Security, we can see Iran seems to be taking steps to repair and reconstruct the site. Here you can see temporary covers placed over impact holes. Then, weeks later, with the memorandum still in effect, the covers are removed and replaced with a mesh. Concrete mixing trucks are visible nearby. Experts say these trucks are a sign the Iranians are intending to seal the holes. Then there is Pickaxe Mountain, a suspected underground nuclear site, and in recent weeks, vehicles can clearly be seen going in and out of the tunnels. There's also been activity at missile bases, like this new paving in Tabriz, and at another missile base in Kermanshah, we can see excavators and tunnel entrances being cleared. With the US resuming its attacks on Iran, a peace agreement is seeming increasingly out of reach.
All right. There we go. All right, Kyle, what do we make of this?
Yeah, so this I think is important, Misty, because it's propaganda, and I think it's going to be used to blame the collapse of the Memorandum of Understanding on Iran. See, what CNN is saying here in this, I think, tit-tot style video, right? Like, this is just low budget, sad, boomer slop, Iran war propaganda, right? Like, it's only going to get shares on Facebook. But what they're doing is they're misinterpreting the Memorandum of Understanding, where Iran did agree not to change its nuclear status, which means it's not going to exit the Non-Proliferation Treaty. They're not going to start building a nuclear weapon. They're not going to test it. That's what Iran was agreeing to in the memorandum of understanding. What CNN is trying to say is what Iran agreed to is not to do any work on any of their nuclear facilities. And as evidence that Iran is violating the memorandum of understanding, look, they tried to repair the roof of one of their nuclear facilities that was bombed, right? Like that doesn't show anything. And then they say that Iran is rebuilding missile and nuclear sites across the country. They put up a map. There's only 4 dots on it. They're rebuilding one no nuclear site that, by the way, Misty, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, the International Nuclear Watchdog, has inspected, verified that Iran wasn't making nuclear weapons there. The Parchin nuclear site was addressed by the Iran-era nuclear deal, so it's not a secret nuclear weapons site in any way. And they're saying that because Iran is doing repairs at this facility, simply that, this already inspected and known sites, they could be making a nuclear bomb. Oh no, we all have to be on alarm. It's just absolutely pathetic propaganda, but really, it's just convincing Donald Trump that this is the case, and I'm sure Mossad is passing this intelligence behind the scenes. And we're going to be seeing a lot more of this in the coming days, as it seems that the MOU ceasefire period has essentially entirely collapsed at this point.
Yeah. And it's so, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the same videos that Israel and Western media would put out about Hamas tunnels, where they would show this like overhead thing and then they'd put like a scary red triangle over a certain area and be like, that's Hamas, despite the fact that it really shows nothing. Like it really just shows nothing. But they just, the way that they cover it and the way that they so forcefully declare that this is what's happening, it makes it seem as if because it's CNN, a certain segment of the population will buy into that and they'll believe it. And you're right, it is full propaganda. Like it's so frustrating to me to watch how effective this still is with people because it is so blatantly obvious to me that this is nonsense. But the idea that Iran has any that they're attempting to build any, like that has never been proven, never, by anybody. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard has even said there's no evidence that this is something that's taking place, that this is something that's happening. So why would they do it now, Kyle, when they know that they're being watched? Like everyone knows that they are being watched. So why would they suddenly attempt to start building a nuclear weapon when they're fully aware that this kind of stuff is taking place, that there are, aerial overhead shots of all of their facilities and they're under a microscope. So the idea that they're not that dumb, right? Like they're just not that dumb.
Well, I will say, Misty, maybe there's 2 points where Iran might want to make a nuclear bomb. One is that they weren't making a nuclear bomb. They are trying to negotiate a deal with the United States that would give double extra public verification for the whole world to see that Iran wasn't trying to make a nuclear weapon when the U.S. attacked and Israel attacked them not once, but twice in 12 months. However, I think what Iran has realized during this war is they could continue to leverage their nuclear program in the same way they have in the past, which is to offer additional inspections and restrictions on its civilian nuclear program, right? They're going to limit the amount of energy produced, the number of nuclear reactors they have, the number of centrifuges they have, the types of nuclear reactors they have. They're going to limit, how much material they process to medical grade, which is up to 20%, right? Like they're willing to agree to all these additional restrictions on their nuclear program if they're ensured access to the world market, which means the removal of U.S. sanctions. And I think they're still willing to do that because they see the Strait of Hormuz as a new deterrent to actual war, right? They're going to assert that, hey, we could close the Strait of Hormuz at any time. We're going to profit over the Strait of Hormuz in the interim, and we're going to use that to rebuild our territory. And if the U.S. attacks again, we'll shut down the Strait of Hormuz again. And we've seen the worldwide consequences of that already. And that seems to be statements from Iranian officials that are indicating that, and even statements from U.S. sources on what the Iranians are demanding, which they're really drawing a hard line on the Strait of Hormuz issue.
Yeah, as they should. I mean, it's and what I think is so fascinating too is The way that Trump has navigated this whole situation has been like just completely insane. Just recently, here, I'm going to play this. Just recently, he called them, here, we'll just play it.
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
I mean, that coming from him is endlessly entertaining. And I mean, on like a dark humor, gallows humor kind of a way. Because everything he just said about them is true for himself.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, look at what happened with the Memorandum of Understanding, Misty, where there's this 14-point MOU. And the same thing happened in April when they agreed to the initial ceasefire, where the ceasefire, the Memorandum of Understanding, it's supposed to be a framework for a peace deal, that certain base core issues are dealt with in the Memorandum of Understanding, and the actual peace negotiations are supposed to be just hammering out the small details. That's how Iran looked at it. That's why Iran agreed to the ceasefire. That's why Iran agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. What Washington saw with the Memorandum of Understanding is basically just an agreement to get a ceasefire, and then Trump is going to negotiate on whatever terms he wants to anyways. And so it's really the Americans that are agreeing to something and then not following through with their commitments. The one other interesting thing I thought about that statement, Misty, is it seems to be Donald Trump flailing around. Yeah. I think if there was a military solution to this, he wouldn't be calling the Iranians scum. He would be letting the U.S. military do the talking. I think this rhetoric is him trying to mask to the American people that he's been emasculated by the Iranians, that he threw everything the U.S. military had against, Pete Hegseth in his tight suit was out there with his chest pumped up, yelling, rah, rah, we're smashing everything, we're destroying the Iranians. Yeah. But after 12 weeks of intensive fighting, what we found out is that while the Iranians use 50% of their drones, 70% are 50% drones and only 30% of their missiles, the U.S. used 50% of their missiles and 50% of their interceptors. The math simply doesn't work out to return to conflict, especially when Iran, even after the U.S. bombing campaign, is producing missiles faster than the U.S. can produce interceptors. And so there is no military solution here. So he has to say all this rhetoric that sounds like he's going to be really tough on the Iranians, but then he also weaves in there, the negotiators want to keep negotiating, and I'm going to let them do it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It seems kind of pointless to me, but what the hell, we're going to keep talking. Now, the problem is that to actually get a deal done, the United States is going to have to make significant concessions. Simply put, strategically, the United States is in a worse place now than we were before the war. Sure, some Iranian infrastructure has been destroyed. Schools have blown up. Children murdered. But when you look at the kind of geopolitical chessboard, Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz now. Iran has linked a ceasefire in Lebanon to a ceasefire in the greater Middle East. Iran has linked sanctions relief on any kind of nuclear deal with the U.S. remaining in kind of the NPT nuclear world order. So this is all really significant gains from the Iranian side, unless Trump realizes that no matter how many times he allows Witkoff and Kushner and Vance to go to the table, they're not going to get anything done.
No. And that was, listen, that was always obvious, right? Everybody who and listen, I'm just some chick in Ohio, and I knew that this was a bad idea from day one. It was very clearly a bad idea. It was always a bad idea. It's now been proven to have been a really catastrophic idea to poke Iran. And that I think that you're right. I think that what Trump is doing right there is desperately beating his chest, hoping that he can kind of perform strength to the American people because he knows in reality he's in a really bad spot and has no way really of getting out now. I mean, it's kind of sunk cost fallacy. He can't back away now because he's just going to look really ineffective and weak. And he can't really proceed any much further because he knows it would be absolutely catastrophic. So he's in a really terrible position right now. And I think that he is very aware of that. But there you have it. All right. We're going to move on now. It's very depressing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Jimmy Dore Show. I am your guest host, Misty Winston. I'm joined here by my pal, Kyle Anzalone of the Libertarian Institute and antiwar.com. Please go check out both of those institutions. They do great work. And Kyle also hosts the Kyle Anzalone Show, which you can find on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast. So please check that out as well. So I wanted to move on now. This is a very interesting story to me. And just so everybody knows, this is what Kyle's YouTube page looks like. So you can go check that out. And then you can go follow him over on the tweeters at Kyle Anzalone _. So please go check that out. But we're going to move on now to Ro Khanna was recently detained in Israel by settlers. And was put in a very precarious position, if you know how any of those such situations have played out before. So he actually posted a video. It's 3 seconds. I didn't even bother with it. It just kind of shows them showing up. But he says, Israeli settlers brandishing American-made M4s detained me and other Americans on my trip to Palestine. When the IDF arrived, they sided with the settlers and continued our detention. They made a huge mistake. You will be hearing more soon. He then continued, what happened to me in the West Bank was an outrage, but it is nothing compared to what Palestinians face every day. It is time to share their stories that American politics have silenced and ignored. This is our first video about Palestinians that we met. I do have that video. We're going to play that now. It's not super long.
For 3 days, I've been talking to Palestinians in their homes and villages about the daily injustices they face under occupation.
And also the blood is here. Do you see the blood? See that? Oh my gosh.
As a congressman, I never expected to be the target of settler violence. But when we visited a school in Zenuda village that settlers had burned down, we were detained by settlers wielding M4 guns who blocked our van from leaving the site. They called additional settlers for support and held us captive for 75 minutes, recording videos, laughing at us, and mocking me and my staff. I will never forget their faces. What angered me most is that the IDF soldiers who came to the scene supported the violent settlers over American citizens. Here's the question. If the settlers and IDF could do this to an American congressman, imagine what life is like for an ordinary Palestinian under Israel's occupation. I've never felt more powerless in my whole life. For decades, American politicians have made the trek to Tel Aviv while not taking the time to cross over and hear from Palestinians about the actual facts on the ground.
These settlers speak bad words for Palestinians. And
they yelling. And she was asleep here.
And you are animal, you are must kill the Palestinian animals. You are like animal.
We never forget him. We keep thinking about him. His room his room is still he left it.
Many Palestinians are desperate to be seen, to be heard, and to live with dignity.
And sometimes in the social media say the settlers violence because what happened on 7th of October. No, my uncle Haj Suleiman, father of Eid, killed.
I have met many European Parliament members, but this is the first time that I do it for an American member.
It's really the first time congressman that comes to Beit Sahur.
I'll be posting their stories throughout the next few weeks because it is time that Palestinians have full equal rights in their own state.
There is the good without food, without water since
all the congressmen should come and see the basic three stuff that we want. We want our land, we want water, and we want the freedom of movement. It's very simple.
The land, water, freedom of movement.
It's simple as that.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Must come to Bethlehem. It'll be my honor.
So there you have it. Ro Khanna actually went to Palestine. Crazy, right? What a novel idea, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad a congressman went and not on some guided tour by the Israelis. Obviously, That's how most American congressmen go. Hell, I mean, one congressman that just passed away would talk about how he made a bi-weekly trip to Israel every other week. He was there You know, he never got this kind of treatment. He never spoke with an actual Palestinian, asked them about what happened to a family member of theirs that was murdered. The amazing thing about this incident, Misty, is how Israel has handled it by essentially trying to call Roe a liar and you know, attacking the U.S. congressman and downplaying the incident, where you would imagine that a state was so reliant on another state. If a group of their citizens had harassed a lawmaker of that state, then, you know, you would come down with the sledgehammer law. The IDF would raid their homes and pull them out of their bed. They would be lined up on TV. They would receive 10 to 15-year sentences for this. And look, even if you commuted a little bit later, like, at least make a big PR deal. The IDF soldiers that showed up, you give them demotions. You promote them again later, a year down the road or something. But at least in the short term, you take them off duty. Everybody gets reprimanded. And that's the focus of the prime minister's statement. What this tells me, Misty, because Netanyahu is not a stupid man. This isn't a mistake. This is a tactical calculation. Israel understands they are losing their support here in the United States of America, and people who follow Roe and, you know, that kind of branch of the Democrats, Israel's already lost those people. And the people who, you know, disbelieve those brands of Democrats are just going to disbelieve and believe the Israeli propaganda on this issue. I think the actual targeted audience here is the Israeli settlers, right? They need these people. The IDF can't kick every Palestinian out of the West Bank, but these settlers who are engaging in daily harassment, you know, just sometimes they shoot and kill Palestinians. That's often not the case. They're destroying their homes, they're killing their livestock, they're harassing their children, they're beating them, they're throwing rocks, they're, you know, vandalizing their cars, arson, right? All these things are driving the Palestinians out of the West Bank. And if Israel is losing their support in the United States, they need to accelerate their expansion and control of the West Bank. You know, everybody likes to date the current situation in Israel to October 7th, 2023, the Hamas attack. I think a much better date is December of 2022. That's when the current Netanyahu government was formed. And when that government was formed, the finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, who over the past, 4 years since that government was formed, we've seen that he has a lot of power and influence. He made very clear at the time that he only joined the Netanyahu coalition because they were going to move to annex the West Bank. And they've expanded Israeli settlements in the West Bank under this government. And again, this started before October 7th at a record pace. I think the number of settlements approved under Smotrich is like 2 or 3 times the total number approved during the Israeli occupation up until that point. More importantly, they stripped the Palestinians of a lot of their land rights. They'd give Bezalel Smotrich, or, you know, whatever Israeli minister sits in his office, the authority to just revoke anybody's property rights. Imagine, Misty, in your town, if they voted somebody, you know, head of the property board, right? If they just remove your property license or whatever appropriate board that is in your town, and now you don't have a deed to your house. They just gave it away to somebody else, and the police come and they evict you and they install this new family, and there's no legal recourse because your deed is gone. That's what they're doing right now every single day in the West Bank. And so I think, to me, this is just a symbol that it's really on. The ethnic cleansing in the West Bank for the Israelis is being turned up to full scale. They're really pushing forward with this. They're doing it in Gaza at the same time. Since the ceasefire was agreed to in October, they've expanded their control of the Strip from 50 to 70%. So that's 1.67 million Gazans jammed into just 30% of what was the Gaza Strip, already an overpopulated area with almost no remaining infrastructure, 1 million plus people just living in tents, others living in bombed out homes. I mean, this is an absolute nightmare. But Netanyahu is getting away with it. And maybe he sees that this is the last time that Israel is really going to have the level of influence they do on Capitol Hill, in the White House, in the Pentagon. If a new president gets elected who says, at least I'm going to have a more balanced approach on this issue, or I'm not so interested in supporting Israel and what they're doing in the Middle East, then if the, you know, ethnic cleansing is already kind of de facto the situation on the ground, they've got the Greater Israel Project.
Yeah. I mean, and he just sees it as a win's a win. Doesn't matter how he gets there. A win's a win for him. He's that level of psychopath. I mean, speaking of psychopaths, that guy's a real raging psychopath. But yeah, I mean, I think that I'm glad that it happened. I mean, obviously I don't want to see anybody detained by Israeli settlers because that's a terrifying prospect. I'm not a fan of Ro Khanna. I think he's shady at best, as all politicians are. I think he is shady at best. But at the very least, I mean, we can't get journalists on the ground. So other than the very unbelievably brave Palestinian journalists who are telling their own stories at great risk to themselves and their families. But the idea that a congressperson is now going to be releasing videos now, how much trust am I going to put in him to tell the story? And I mean, you take everything like this with a grain of salt, right? But I do think that, as you said, it is very interesting the way that Israel and Netanyahu have responded to this, immediately coming out. And this is, as they always do, right? The spin was immediate. Netanyahu was immediately on all the shows talking about how Ro Khanna is a liar, and obviously Ro Khanna is pushing back on that, and there's going to be some back and forth there. But at the very least, I'm happy that Palestinian stories are going to their voices. He's very clearly talking to many locals and telling their stories. And as he says there, or as one of the men says there, that this did not start on October 7th, as you just mentioned. It didn't start on October 7th. This has been going on for decades. I mean, you said, December of 2022. This has been going on for decades, for a very long time. Palestinian people have been dealing with occupation and brutalization and snipers and rape, torture, murder, imprisonment, kidnapping, all of those things for a very long time. This did not happen in a vacuum. This is not a response to October 7th. This has been the plan for a very long time. They merely used October 7th to make it their jumping off point for continuing the Greater Israel Project. I think that's abundantly clear to anybody with two brain cells to rub together. So, I don't know what's going to come of this. He says he's going to continue to tell the Palestinian people stories. I don't know how Israel will respond. Probably once this is, the news cycle will move on, they'll probably ignore it from here on out. So, but I would, at the very least, pay attention to Ro Khanna's continuing telling of these stories on his, wherever he's going to be posting. And I assume on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if he'll be posting anywhere else, but I'm going to be watching them. I'm very curious to see what his experience was like in Palestine. So there you go. It's just crazy to me that a sitting member of the U.S. Congress was detained and harassed and threatened. And a lot of people are going to be okay with that, simply because, as you said, it's Ro Khanna. They already don't like him, so it's fine. If Israel did it, it's fine. I think there's a lot of people who will justify this because of the crazy, misguided support for the state of Israel. So there you have it. Ro Khanna detained. Okay, we're going to move on now. Last story we have with Kyle. So again, thank you for tuning in to the Jimmy Dore Show. I am your guest host today, Misty Winston. I'm joined by Kyle Anzalone. He is an editor and writer for Libertarian Institute, antiwar.com. He hosts the Kyle Anzalone Show. You can go check all of that stuff out. You can follow him on Twitter at Kyle Anzalone _. And then, of course, there is the Kyle Anzalone Show. Go subscribe, share with your friends, family. He does great foreign policy coverage across the board. So definitely check that out. So we're going to move on now to our good friend, Marco Rubio. Oh, God, I hate this guy. He's so annoying. But Marco Rubio running Venezuela from Washington. And this is from a piece that you wrote, was published yesterday. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio controls Venezuela's finances, making him the effective viceroy of the South American nation. Quote, Mr. Rubio has become the de facto viceroy. Am I saying that right? Viceroy, right?
Yep.
Okay. Of Venezuela, immediately second guess myself, like, is that right? Of Venezuela, holding sway over a sovereign nation in a way that no American official has since Paul Bremer III arrived in Baghdad in 2003 to run U.S.-occupied Iraq. And that's from the New York Times on Saturday. This is crazy to me. Not crazy. Fully expected from the United States, but the idea that this is happening so openly, given everything that has happened already in Venezuela, the way that things have played out there. So what is this? Like, what is this? What is happening with Marco Rubio in Venezuela?
Yeah, Missy, this is really crazy. Apparently, he has this WhatsApp chat with Dulce Rodriguez, the new interim president of Venezuela, and just tells her what to do. And according to U.S. officials, she's never disobeyed. She's followed every command. This has come to the level of getting to pick which officials from the former president, the kidnapped leader Maduro's administration, get to remain in Rodriguez's administration. He's personally picking who gets sanctions lifted off of them. So that means he's determining who gets to do business, who gets to trade overseas. And whenever money comes in from overseas to Venezuela, it's being collected by the U.S. government and then distributed to the Venezuelan government to then be doled out. And so if we don't like something the Venezuelan government is doing, we'll hold on to their money. That increases a lot of pressure. So that's why Venezuela is complying so heavily, is because we really have given them no choice. And Misty, I think a lot of this has to do, and the reason Marco Rubio is probably so interested in this is, this is unfortunate for the Venezuelans. I don't think it has a lot to do with them. It's not about improving Venezuela. It's that Venezuela, particularly under Nicolas Maduro, was a supporter and had a relationship that had reciprocal benefits with Venezuela, with Cuba. Venezuela supplied Cuba with energy. Cuba supplied Venezuela with doctors and soldiers and other, I think, scientists. I'm sure there's some good leftists out there who are yelling at their YouTube screen right now about how, he knows all these other things that the Cuban government does for Venezuela. I'm sure. Is a symbiotic relationship there. And what they're trying to do is cut off the Venezuelan government, literally starve, cause blackouts, create mass economic ruin in Cuba under the false belief that this will, after 7 decades now of embargo, finally cause the Cuban people to wake up in the morning and say, all of our problems are due to our communist government and not the evil empire right next door who's blockading us and starving our children. When Ryan Grimm and a few other journalists went to Cuba a few months ago, they were talking about this kid who was suffering and dying of cystic fibrosis. And there's this medicine that, they could just give them, people in the U.S. have it. The kids take the medicine and they I think, find normal children after it. It's actually a cure. It's not just a short-term treatment or expansion of life. And this kid was deprived of it because of the U.S. sanctions, because we don't allow shipments of goods. And they say, there's exemptions for medicine, things like that. But study after study after study has shown that the U.S. sanctions are so expansive and the U.S. government so incompetent that even if you are truly just bringing medicine to one of these nations, you run a high risk of running afoul of U.S. sanctions. And then, your business or your country gets absolutely ruined when you get slapped with secondary U.S. sanctions. And so, people don't mess around in countries where there's this extensive level of U.S. economic warfare. And so the Cuban people are absolutely suffering and they're miserable under the U.S. blockade. And that's what Marco Rubio really wants. He wants regime change in Havana.
Yeah. I mean, another raging psychopath. I mean, it's just kind of par for the course at this point. And that's what I think is so crazy about what's happening right now, is that it blows my mind that we kidnapped a president of a country and openly, and there's not more pushback about that. It really has just disappeared from the news cycle. Nobody's really what is even happening with Maduro? Do we even know?
I know there was I think some preliminary hearings. Now, initially, Misty, one important thing is when they arrested him, the charging document included a whole bunch of drug charges along with the gun charge. Now, how the leader of a foreign state could be unlawfully possessing guns makes absolutely no sense to me, right? The head of a foreign state could have nuclear weapons, tanks, and so if he bought some machine guns, then that's running a country. That's a part of the job description, right? And so that's absolutely absurd. But a lot of I think all the drug charges have actually been dropped, so they don't have much on the guy. Again, this was all just about, I think, pressuring and ultimately getting the regime change in Cuba. They put a lot of pressure on the Mexican government to cut off oil shipments to Venezuela, and the Mexican government said, look, I mean, the Trump administration is absolutely reckless and wild. They'll destroy our entire economy. They may bomb and invade our country. I mean, there have been reports during the Trump administration from mainstream outlets citing anonymous sources, of course, but that, special operations was planning raids in Mexico. The CIA and the Pentagon were planning drone strikes in Mexico. Now, I think they'd probably be targeting the cartels and not the government, but there's also a lot of overlap there in Mexico. So, this would be obviously a very, very dangerous operation that would really infringe on Mexican sovereignty and make Mexico City look really weak. And so they ultimately complied and cut off the energy transfers.
Yeah. And this is our MO, right? This is what we do. We just bully people into submission. And if you don't submit, then we will kidnap your president and, impose all kinds of sanctions. And I mean, this is exactly what we do and we have done all over the world. And there's really no exception here. The idea that it's Marco Rubio, I think, is fascinating to me. This guy shouldn't be in charge of literally anything. So it's nuts to me that he is basically running Venezuela, as you mentioned in your article, which again, you can find on the Libertarian Institute. Please go check that out. But yeah, the idea that Marco Rubio is in control of Venezuela's finances, the fact that they are running roughshod over them, and the Cuban thing is such an interesting aspect too, because you said that there's a bunch of lefties yelling at the screen, but that's exactly what I think a lot of lefties have been rightfully angry about, is that there's all this conversation about how socialism and communism don't work. And you can certainly have an opinion on that, but I think that there's been nowhere that it's even been attempted that hasn't been sabotaged. So I'm not even sure that we have effective or real data points on that. I mean, I don't know that it's ever really been tried truly without being entirely sabotaged from jump, because the American empire just cannot have that. So I think that that's certainly an interesting aspect of that. But I think that the Venezuela thing is that I think because of, and I think another part that people aren't talking about is obviously the oil reserves, right? They have a lot of oil there, Kyle. And so I think that anytime that you hear oil in the United States, you know that there is a direct connection, and that we're going to try to overthrow your government and steal your resources, because that's what we do. So where do you see the Venezuela thing? How do you see that playing out? I feel like it's not being talked about. Obviously, there's a lot going on. I think it's impossible to cover everything and talk about everything, but I feel like this is something that is getting grossly undercovered, just based on how it could impact global dynamics, our foreign standing with a lot of countries. I mean, there's a lot really at play here. So where do you see, how do you see this playing out over the next, couple of years as Trump finishes out his second term?
Yeah, I mean, they have this grand ambition to rebuild Venezuela, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of corruption involved. My guess is there's too much incompetence in the Trump administration to actually make any meaningful progress on it, and there may not be a desire either. They may just be attempting to loot what they can and get out, and really have no effort to rebuild or invest or help the Venezuelans in any way, which won't work, but looting the country will probably be worse than at least trying some plan at investing in the infrastructure and things like that. I mean, we've seen in the short term already where Venezuela suffers twin, I think 7.5 and 7.2 earthquakes. I've seen 4,400 dead, but still thousands and thousands missing. So who knows how catastrophic it's going to be. And when this happened, Marco Rubio is, of course, in the Middle East and the UAE, because he's there trying to undermine the MOU, rally up the Gulf Arab states to reject any Iranian tolls in the Middle East, to sabotage the MOU. And so you have somebody that's supposed to be running in Venezuela, not even in the right hemisphere, when you have this major natural disaster hit, the earthquake. Rubio is just basically doesn't respond. He said, oh, we're rushing aid in, and I think the military sent in some rescue teams, but the Venezuelan government asked for sanctions relief, and Rubio refused. And the sanctions relief is important, again, because if you need to rush aid into the country, you just need to be able to do business with whatever port has an open stall and has cranes available to unload the cargo that you need to unload, and run the same thing no matter how you're bringing the aid in, right? You just need to be able to do it as quickly as possible. But if a financial institution that particular port works with is sanctioned, then it's going to take additional time to set up a new institution and new accounts, right? Like when we're talking about saving lives in the matter of hours, these things that are going to take days or weeks are going to cost hundreds or thousands of lives of people who could be saved. And so it's really unfortunate that the U.S. didn't do the sanctions relief. However, it's not unsurprising. I believe it was during the Biden administration, it might have been Trump, the first Trump administration, you had those massive earthquakes in Syria and Turkey, and the U.S. refused to lift sanctions on Syria that added to the death count in that country as well. So, we claim these sanctions are for humanitarian purposes to help overthrow bad governments and help people overthrow their bad governments, when really they're just meant to punish the people. And with a policy like that, we can't possibly win. So maybe the best case scenario here, Misty, is that Trump just gets bored of the situation. He fires Marco Rubio over some completely unrelated issue, and nobody really steps up to fill the void because nobody's as interested in regime change in Havana as Marco Rubio is.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought up the earthquakes and the humanitarian aid, because it's so despicable to me that sanctions are even a consideration under those circumstances. And you're right, it's not the first time it's happened, but I think it's beyond the pale. It's disgusting that is even something that is taken into consideration. That everything else should fall away. It doesn't matter what your current beef is with whatever country it is. I don't care. If there are people in need of aid and you have aid to give, there shouldn't be any red tape. There shouldn't be any conversation. There shouldn't be any debate. There should be no pearl clutching. There should be nothing getting in between the people who need the aid and the aid. Like, it really seems like that is, and as you said, like they pretend that these sanctions are, doing the Lord's work or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's a good thing. Like, we have to do these sanctions. It's, it's for the good of the people. But then when something like that happens, and I can't even watch the videos of it because it's absolutely devastating, the destruction that took place after those two earthquakes. And a natural disaster of that scale, to get hit with one is bad enough. To get hit back to back with two major, like, these are not small earthquakes, these are major earthquakes. To be hit with two of them back to back, and then for the United States to even have a thought about sanctions is just so despicable, but so on par. Like, that's just on brand for the United States. We genuinely do not actually care about people. Like, we just do not. Everything is about what is politically advantageous, what is most opportunistic at the time, and helping people, it just doesn't ever come into that. So I'm glad that you brought that aspect up, because I feel like, it's just so gross to me. That's just really vile behavior to even consider. And you're right, the Syrian, I think that was, I'm second guessing myself too, but I think that was Biden, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
I know it was during the COVID pandemic, because
Yes.
so it was either 2020 or 2021. And one of the things here, Misty, to point out is that in a case like an earthquake, it's not an ongoing it is an ongoing disaster,
Yes.
but assuming there's not another earthquake tomorrow, it is, like, at this point, rescue recovery. It's not as if you're dealing with another thing coming in. And so even like a short-term 60 or 90 days, just total relief of sanctions would be really helpful. And at the same time, if you are a believer that saying, I'm not a believer in sanctions at all, but if you are, you just reimpose them. And look, we've seen the Trump administration lift and impose sanctions on Russia and Venezuela and Iran as it relates to the conflict in the Middle East. And so, when it, I guess, probably comes to the Trump administration, or people with ties to the Trump family and the administration are looking to manipulate the oil market, place certain bets on, buying or shorting oil, things like this, then they're lifting and removing sanctions all the time. But when it's a natural disaster, then, we just can't change policy. We're doing all this stuff. It's a complex process. It's just that we're going to send you aid, though. We'll send some rescue teams to help you guys out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's just a ridiculous notion that under those circumstances that should even be a consideration. I just don't care. I do not care. I don't care what beef you have with anybody. I don't care what country it is. I don't care. If there is a situation like that takes place and people need help, we should help. Like that just seems like very basic human decency to me. And it's really despicable that, and I'm like, I don't believe in sanctions at all, period. But the idea that there isn't even a consideration to put a pause on that and help deal with the situation at hand, I think is pretty gross, because the devastation there is overwhelming. There's just so much chaos happening right now, and they could use a tremendous amount of help and can't get it because of sanctions. So it's pretty gross. Okay, Kyle, thanks for joining us again. You can follow Kyle over on Twitter at @KyleAnzalone_. You can check out his show, The Kyle Anzalone Show, on YouTube, and then also wherever you get the podcast. Do you have anything else coming up? Do you have anything else going on right now? Any new stories coming out soon?
The big thing is just The Kyle Anzalone Show. I'm really trying to do everything I can right now to, manipulate the YouTube algorithm. I don't talk about things. I'm not careful about what I talk about on the show. I talk about what I want to talk about. I talk about the truth. And so if you guys are out there and you want to go and subscribe, maybe if I get a bunch of people to subscribe at one time, that'll kind of help to boost me up in the algorithm and, get some more natural growth from the show that way. And Misty, I'd love to have you on sometime this week. I'll shoot you a message and maybe we can work something out for this week or next.
Yeah, I'm always happy to come on. And you have great guests on. I mean, you just recently had Sam Husseini, who I love. Sam Husseini, he's fantastic. You had Colonel Larry Wilkinson on. I mean, you have a lot of really great guests on all the time to talk about various different subject matter. So it's a great show. Everybody go check that out over at the Kyle Anzalone Show on YouTube. And then, of course, wherever you get podcasts, right? You're on all the various platforms, I assume.
Yep. And we got Rumble channel and everything, but YouTube is what pays the bills. So
unfortunately, YouTube still has a monopoly on all of that stuff. So okay, everybody go subscribe.
Thanks
follow,
everyone. Thanks, Misty.
Share, all that good stuff. Thank you. We'll talk soon. Okay, friends, we're gonna switch over ourselves to Rumble. So everybody make that trek over there. And we'll see you on the flip side.